So our next speaker is Dr. Meenakshi Rishi. She's a professor in economics, and she's going to talk to us about sustainable development and the Sustainable Development Goal 7 in Sub-Saharan Africa. So here we go.
Thanks. Thanks, Brent. So oddly, I'm not going to be talking about raccoons or birds, but I'll take you a little far away to Sub-Saharan Africa. Not discussing grounds here, but discussing SDG 7, which is clean and affordable energy, the Sustainable Development Goal number 7 in Sub-Saharan Africa. So I think it's sort of environmental justice, but from a global macro perspective. So I feel like I belong. Please tell me I do, because I feel like I'm not talking about bears or bees or anything else. So, okay. All right. It's not.
I know the problem.
Oh, you know the problem.
All right, try it now.
Yeah. Okay, so this is a very recent research that was published in the European Journal of Development. And I was working with my two co-authors, Lee and Bei, and they're both at Chonam University in South Korea, working on Sub-Saharan Africa. So essentially our context was to look at the impact of how COVID-19 has impacted Sub-Saharan Africa, especially in terms of their achievement of the Sustainable Development Goal number 7. And this is data on the conditions in Sub-Saharan Africa. About 840 million people do not have electricity. And achieving this electricity to be in line with the enshrined goals of SDG 7 this is a very conservative estimate of $20 billion over the next decade. And again, this means that these countries are, whether they like it or not, going to be dependent on some sort of energy aid. But what kind of aid goes to these countries, and is aid itself problematic, or does aid lead to increased carbon emissions because it might be promoting non-green kinds of projects? So we were looking at that because also Sub-Saharan Africa really has a very poor track record in terms of greenhouse gas emissions. GHG emissions in Sub-Saharan Africa are also very high. So we decided that we were going to reframe our quest for knowledge regarding energy aid to Sub-Saharan Africa. And we felt that there's always a tug of war in economics between environmental growth and sustainability. And we sort of, in the paper, you can read the paper for more details, we felt that the problems about growth are very different from the problems that emerge from persistent poverty. And so we kind of visualized it or reframed our question as green growth and energy access story. So do these populations have access to energy, and is growth that the energy aid is going to, is that growth green? So we asked three questions, and of course we couldn't include the COVID-19 data because the data collection has virtually stopped after 2016. But we continue to work along these lines. Our first question was, is increased energy aid associated with reduced carbon emissions in our sample of 30 SSA sub-Saharan African countries? Does energy aid promote economic growth? Does energy aid promote access to energy, which is what poverty is, and this is growth. So this is sort of a little bit of a schematic. We did a bunch of literature. Stream A, B, and C is the kind of literature that's available. I don't want to bore you with that. But this is sort of our first question, energy aid to carbon emissions. Second question is energy aid to growth. Third question, energy aid to energy access or consumption. And this is what we found. We did a bunch of econometrics. Don't hate me, but that's the only way we can get stuff done. After controlling for all of these wonderful things, we came up with some direct results and some very indirect results. We found that energy-related aid actually does result in lower CO2 emissions. There is also a very direct impact with GDP growth. So the energy story is real, but we couldn't find a direct impact of energy-related aid to energy access. Does energy aid actually reduce poverty? We couldn't find a direct impact, but we found an indirect impact because we found that energy-related aid to these countries actually stimulates growth, economic growth, and that itself leads to higher electricity access. So all said and done, very good result, which basically suggests that even though energy-related aid is not directly related to reducing poverty or enabling energy access in these countries, there is a long-run association, long-run only insofar as our data takes us, between economic growth and electricity access. So all in all, what does this mean for policy? What it means for policy is that, energy-related aid cannot directly promote energy access, but it can impel economic growth, which can then promote energy access. So essentially, our paper argues for not decreasing, but increasing energy-related aid to this sample of 20 countries. That has become fraught politically right now. And so our paper kind of makes an appeal that they should reconsider the provision of aid to these countries, and all of these countries in our sample were on a very good trajectory towards greening their economies, and that has somehow stopped in the advent of the pandemic. And I think that is about it.